I like using Nikon cameras. I've used Nikon for a long time. However, back in 1979, I remember as a 15-year-old being highly disappointed with Nikon and almost turning my back on Nikon completely when they brought out this. Now, this is the Nikon EM. And you see, in the 1970s, there had been a move towards aperture priority. So you could set the aperture and the camera would automatically set the shutter speed. And this had been seen in mainly Pentax cameras. Canon done a little bit on it, and it was the trend to go this way. It was towards automation. You still had a manually focused camera, but the exposure was what was described as semi-automatic. Remember, Nikon had produced the F3, the Nikomat, really high quality cameras. When I encountered this in the local camera shop, I was quite shocked with how small it was and how just simple it seemed. And for me, that was a little bit against what Nikon was about. Not the simplicity, but the fact the camera just felt, to me, cheap. Now, 40 years later, what do I think? Well, I think I might have slightly misjudged it. Really fantastic thing about the EM was it came with a new series of lenses, which was also on the FG camera, and they were a slightly cheaper lens, but it was the E range of Nikon lenses, and the E range is a slightly cheaper range. However, in my experience, they are extremely sharp lenses. They are very usable lenses, and I quite often use this on my D300S digital camera. They are a camera lens you can swap over and use with a lot of different Nikons. Downside with this particular camera I'm holding in my hand, it's not actually, the meter has failed, although the shutter still works. The automatic aperture priority is not working, and I have found that on a couple of these. But it's nice to still have in my collection because it's interesting to compare it with the other Nikons. It's very similar in shape to the Nikon FG. It's almost like a stripped down FG. Remember, at this time Pentax were doing something. They did the ME, which was aperture priority. The ME Super was had manual on it as well. So other people were doing similar aperture priority cameras, and in hindsight I don't think it is as bad as I thought it was, and it's actually now feels quite nicely made, and there's quite a nice modernist feel to it. The viewfinder is nice and bright. The lever which shows the shutter speed is very clear. You would load it manually. You would wind back by clicking this down here and winding back. It's a straightforward camera. If you find one working, then you'll probably be quite surprised with how good it is. Bye for now.